Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The only thing your boy missing is his cap. Dialogue with Dozie is on your airwaves. We're live, Facebook, YouTube Live. So glad you joined us. Hey, tag and share this out. This is this is a show you just can't afford to miss. We're celebrating Black excellence. Tonight, we're focusing in the areas of law and politics. A star-studded lineup. Dr. Senator Rosalind Osgood, Attorney Kaysia Earley, and my dear friend, Attorney Daryl Wilcox. We're going right on. Hey, family, how y'all doing tonight?
We are blessed. Thanks for having us.
Doing well.
Okay, we do want to do this show's dedication tonight. We have, unfortunately, we're dedicating this show to two who have left us. We'll go ahead with the dedication. This show is in memory of Jack Strickland. Jack is a dear friend of ours, a friend of the show. He's been on here numerous times. I met Jack through my partner in crime, KV, and Jack his resume is going to carry a lot of weight in the kingdom of heaven. He has helped people from every level. Jack has had issues, he's overcome them, and he's been able to help some people. We had Brother Calvin Thomas on the show when we first started in 2000, and Jack was instrumental in getting Kevin from death row, and then he ended up getting him eventually out of prison. And he has just been so helpful to our Black athletes over in Gainesville at the university, the beloved Gator. While there, he mentored and helped the first Black quarterback at the University of Florida and one of the first in the Southeastern Conference, Don Gaffney. I was hoping Miss Tracy could come on and do this in honor of him tonight. Jack is humorous. He's helpful. He's godly. He's spiritual, and he would give us all the help. Doctors had given up on him shortly after we met him. Jack hung around. In fact, when I saw the other day that he had moved on to the next level, I almost was surprised because I thought Jack would just be here until the Lord comes again. But Jack Strickland, hey man, you're a real one, and we love you, buddy. You're gonna brighten the corridors of the kingdom when we all get there. Bless you, sir. And unfortunately, we're also dedicating tonight's show to Brother Daryl Henderson, who has also been on the show. Daryl he's a chef. We have deep roots. His father and my father were very close friends. I have to confirm with my mother. I think they played golf together, Mr. Ed Henderson. And Daryl and Kim, again, were very close friends. We did a surprise birthday for my mother over in Orlando in 2020. A surprise 90th birthday. And Daryl, we had to literally throw money in his pockets. He's a caterer, and he would not take a penny. And my brother said, and I had to come together and put money in his pocket to show our appreciation. He went out his way to make that a very special event. And he was with us last year at 2024 when we surprised Mama again with another dinner. Daryl didn't cater that one, but he was there with us at the resort there in Orlando. Daryl, buddy, didn't know you were sick, man, but we will see you in the dawn. God bless you and thank you. Tonight's show is dedicated to excellence, because both of these individuals were excellent during their time here on earth. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going right into the night show. We want to talk about Black excellence because we have Senator Osgood. Senator Osgood and I are both preachers, and it's difficult for me to call her senator because I know her as Dr. Osgood, Pastor Osgood, and man, I'm talking about preacher Osgood. This sister can preach. She can show enough preach. So you ought to hear her preach that gospel sometime. We want to talk about Black excellence in politics because she has a limited time with us. But let me just start by saying we first want to go way, way, way back to the roots. Before there was a Barack, before there was a Kamala, there was some on the national level who set the tone. And we start out with, and this is going to age me. Everybody's going to know my age. I'm probably the senior in the bunch. Do you all remember Carl Stokes, who was the first Black mayor of Cleveland, Ohio?
Yeah, I do.
That's right, Jerry. You're a minute older than I am. That's right. Okay. Carl Stokes served as the mayor of Cleveland, Ohio. He was one of the first black mayors of a major city in America from 1967 to 1971. And what sticks out our memory of him is in my 5th grade we had Senator Osgood and Ms. Kaysia. We had a project that we had to write someone famous and try to receive a correspondence back from them. And I never forget my classmate Carl Thompson wrote the mayor's office in Cleveland, and he received a letter and an autographed picture of Carl Stokes, and that was so cool. Any comments? He got it started for us on this level to let us know we could do it. You remember, Daryl, how excited we were as the people to have him in office?
I just remember seeing him in Ebony magazine, Reverend Dozie, Reverend Dozell. I remember seeing him in along with Hatchett, Gary, Indiana, the mayor from Gary, Indiana. I think his name was Hatcher or something like that. And then there was Washington and Chicago, I believe.
How could I have left him off the list? We got pictures. Let's go on this. I tried to do this in some kind of chronological order. The next one that we want to honor is who set the stage to let us know, and both of our lady guests tonight. I just prophesied and call her Judge Earley. She's just waiting on the proper time to go back and seek that office.
To God be the glory.
Amen. Amen. And she lost by just a few votes in her first time in the ring. And with all the great work she's doing, I know that's next on. And Senator Osgood, who has been successful in all of her races, and she well represents all of us. But I think Miss Representative Shirley Chisholm kind of set the stage for that for us. She let us know that we could, in fact, run for president. And even though that's a ceiling that has not yet been broken, she served as a representative from 1969 to 83, and she paid the price. Her setting the stage paid the price. When she left the House, there were several college professorships. She came from the field of education that she wanted, and both of those smaller colleges she was turned down. It was because of her stepping out ahead of time in masses society. Senator Osgood, you want to comment on what she has done for our race as far as letting us know what we could do?
Yeah, and I think a lot of what she did was to defy the status quo. You know, I think when we look at the time that she was living in, and so many people was telling her that she couldn't win. When you do the numbers at that time, it was more about the principles of not allowing anyone to set boundaries for her, not allowing anyone to stereotype her and pigeonhole her. As Black women in leadership, oftentimes we have certain stigma or certain expectations that people have of us that actually limit who we are and what we're capable of. So as she launched her nomination for president, some people laughed at it, but as you notice, she talked about being unbought and unbossed. So she didn't have a lot of money because she didn't take money from people that she would be beholden to. She wasn't bossed. She did what she wanted to do when she wanted to do it. And it really just shows us that a lot of what we do, especially in the political arena, is about principles. It's about being your authentic self. I call it level up leadership, where you don't just go along to get along, where you free yourself, where you can speak truth to power and call things the way they are. And you don't let anybody define your pathway for you. You go with what's in your spirit and you move forward.
I love that you mentioned those two slogans. They did, in fact, accentuate her political mindset and existence. And we're talking about Black excellence in these areas. And I just wish that you look at this fine array of talent on the screen and personalities and spirits. And prayerfully tonight, you're going to glean from some of the things that most of you all know her locally. But for those of you abroad across the nation, the length and breadth of the nation will gain from them, and that it will inspire somebody to follow, as I'm sure Representative Chisholm set the tone for others who would have come behind her. And I just hope and pray that they will. I want to mention Mayor Maynard Jackson. Mayor Jackson was one of the forerunners. He served as Atlanta's mayor from he served actually 2 terms, 1974 to 1982, and then again he served from 82 to 94. So we celebrate. He was kind of like a political dynasty, and he accentuated economics. Thus, the Hartsfield Atlanta Airport is named after him. It's the Maynard Jackson, and we know that that's one of the most important airports in the nation. But Mayor Jackson was in a hotbed of a southern city, and he rose to the ranks of mayor, and he knew he opened the doors. It's just, when we look at these, we're not looking to just applaud them, but we're looking to draw inspiration into the generation below us, those who are up and coming, to see this excellence in our own community, and hope it will inspire others. Any comments on Mayor Jackson's? Anybody remember anything of his tenure? He was an economic dynamo.
Yeah, I was, of course, young during his time, but I do remember how he took control of that airport. I think he had something like a $5 million improvement to the airport, and that expansion and improvement made it one of the most busiest airports in the world. Before his expertise was added to the flavor, the Atlanta airport was limited in its capacity. So he arranged deals and put things in place that expanded the airport to the capacity that it was at that time. And as those of us that frequent that airport knows, that it continues to expand with different businesses. You see a lot of minority businesses in that airport. When you go through the airport, you see that there is a whole hub that recognizes Black history, from Martin Luther King to other historical figures. I walk the airport sometimes because I'm always trying to get my steps in. And when you walk, you have a very different view than when you're taking the train. So you get to go through all of the major section where you have a lot of the Black history that was put in that airport. And it's just good to go through an airport sometimes and see people look like you being celebrated all throughout the airport.
I think Mayor Jackson was one of the most popular. I think he came from the Georgia House. He may have served with Julian Bond, if I'm not mistaken. But he in fact was a political dynamo. Delta Airlines is hub there in Atlanta, and do you all know of anybody else? I just know that he really got it off the ground, so it's appropriate that it would be named after him. Another one of our forerunners we want to look at Mayor Tom Bradley. So we're going to see the top 3 cities represented. Mayor Tom Bradley served as mayor of Atlanta, of Los Angeles, from 1973 to a whopping 1993. Mayor Tom Bradley was a police lieutenant with the LAPD, and he became mayor of Los Angeles, and he ran for governor. California, as blue as it is, was not quite ready for that move, but when he came back and just continued to be a political dynamo in the city of Los Angeles, and we certainly owe a lot to him. Thanks, Brother Daryl, for reminding us of Harold Washington. I think we have him. So let's see. Do we have Harold Washington? If not, we'll go with okay. Mayor Washington. Mayor Washington was mayor of Chicago when actually he died just before we relocated. Did a 9-year pastorate in the area, and he just kind of assumed power, and he probably would have been. He died in office, and there was speculation about his dying in office, and he probably would have retired or just died left office at a very old age, because he had assumed such power in the city of Chicago. He was indeed a dynamo. Thank you, Madam Producer, for getting him up. And this may be a little out of order, but since we've done Los Angeles, Chicago, let's also do Mayor David Dinkins in New York City. Mayor Dinkins was the first black mayor of New York, and he served there from 90 to 94. Any comments on anything that's significant to you all? He ascended to the position as a borough chief, as a head of a borough president, and became mayor of New York. Anybody remember anything significant about Mayor Dinkins? Anything sticks out to you all about him or his treatment?
He brought crime down, and it went down further during Giuliani, but they gave a lot of the credit to Giuliani for the crime going down, but the decrease in the crime had really occurred under Dinkins, though.
I know he also. Wait, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, I will say, I mean, just sitting through this program and hearing about some of these mayors, every year, Black History Month comes along, and I have 4 children. So the teachers normally assign my children the standards. And I'm not lowering the effect of our historical figures, but I'm sitting here just hearing the brief synopsis of these mayors. And every year I usually provide a list to the teachers, and I tell them there's more than just the athletes, the entertainers. And I provide a list of 20 to suggest, instead of them sending them home and letting them do another report on Oprah Winfrey or Martin Luther King. And as you talk about these mayors, I lived in Washington, D.C. for 14 years. And I think about Muriel Bowser, who is a female. And whenever I see females in power, I thank the gentleman, because we need more positions of power that is by men and women of color. But as a female, when I see females in leadership, in power, it's a different dimension because we're that double minority. But I'm just sitting back, just hearing the brief synopsis of these historical figures, and it just had my brain churning like, okay, this is something else that I'll give the teachers, because the mayors are an important factor to the community.
And in fact, we couldn't get them all, but Marion Barry, who
Marion Barry too. When I was
as a phoenix, Senator Osgood, he rose from the ashes of addiction and reassumed power, and he just, that was in the nation's capital. Let's see one other mayor, and then we're going to move on. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Willie Brown, San Francisco.
Willie Brown, recent mayor. In fact, it's been said that Willie Brown was a kingmaker for a recent presidential candidate. Whether that's true or not, there's nothing wrong with mentoring. Maynard Jackson's ascension as mayor and his affiliation with Dr. King helped. Our next person is Mayor Andrew Young, who served as the mayor of Atlanta. Also, he served 2 terms from 1982 to 1990. Georgia showed him that he still was black, so they would not grant him the governorship when he ran for it. But thankfully, fortunately, he's still around. He's one of the Martin Luther King fellas, and he happens to be, and Senator Osgood as an AK, he happens to be an Alpha Phi Alpha.
So we made a Jackson if you want to go there, but
yes, sir.
Let's not. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not near Phi now, but had I done it, if I am to do it, it will be the beloved Gold and Black. So under Mayor Jackson, economics continued to strive in the city of Atlanta, and as it became more and more of a black city, he just gave it some good moral leadership, and I think that's some of the things we see him missing around the whole country now.
One more, and I'll let you take. Morial in New Orleans, I believe, was the first black mayor in New Orleans. Yeah.
Dutch Morial. He died in office.
Did he? I thought he was still alive.
You're talking about Dutch is alive, the son.
Okay.
His dad was mayor. In fact, the Civic Center there is named after him. He was a dynamo there in the city of New Orleans. His son is now left the mayorship, and he's the head of the National Urban League. Okay. He was on the NFL program the other night and kind of closed it out. But so Shirley Chisholm really opened the door, Senator Osgood, for our next person who, of all people, as a civil rights leader and pretty much kind of hated by establishment politicians. He won the Michigan primary, and for a season was leading in the Democratic primary, leading Dukakis, who was the eventual nominee. But he got a lot of things across in the Democratic convention, which was held right there in Atlanta. Right. And my daughter, Madam Producer, he made his last step on the road, his last stop on the way to Atlanta for the convention, and she helped in that stop right there in Louisville. Reverend Jesse Jackson, let's hear what he has to say, words of inspiration to our people.
And then for our children, young America, hold your head high now. We can win. We must not lose you to drugs and violence, premature pregnancy, suicide, cynicism, pessimism, and despair. We can win. Wherever you are tonight, I challenge you to hope and to dream. Don't submerge your dreams.
That was in 1984 political Democrat National Convention in Atlanta. And I remember going to work that night. I was a policeman, and I lived near the department. I was walking to work on that hot, humid August night. And I remember I was just floating. Emotions, I had to keep my emotions intact. I'm a speechologist. And that was one of the greatest speeches that I'd ever heard. It was a little lengthy, but if you get a chance, YouTube that. Senator Osgood?
Well, Jesse Jackson has certainly done a lot and took a lot of the hits. I was thinking about the night when Barack Obama was elected, and he was there crying, and it kind of made me think about some of the biblical characters where, God allowed David to reestablish Jerusalem, but Solomon actually built the temple. And Jesse Jackson, as you see him today, I oftentimes run into him. I remember when I was going through the mass battle with the school board, he and his son called and he said, "Do you want me to come and help you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good. You sick. I can, I'm from the hood. I can fight this battle." But it was just good to get that call of somebody watching and encouragement to just keep fighting in a time where you're being threatened by the governor to have your paycheck taken away. And he did proceed to do that. We just found ways around it. So it just shows us that a lot of times we see people in political spaces and we see the TV and the glamour of it, but very few people know the sacrifices that you make. Like I'm sitting here now, I got an email at 6:49 p.m. tonight telling me that special session is going to start at 12 noon in Tallahassee tomorrow. And then 30 minutes after that, 3 other immigration bills came out. So after I'm done with this Zoom, I have another Zoom with Black Women. I'll be up to 1 and 2 o'clock tonight studying and reading through those bills, hop on the plane in the morning to get to Tallahassee so I can be able to fight and be a voice for the people. So when I see Jesse Jackson, I think about all the behind the scenes work and all the people that you need rooting for you, encouraging you, doing the stuff, helping you, supporting you, giving you the cheese crackers and the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches as you move throughout the day, knowing you haven't eaten all day. Sometimes we forget about people that we never see on TV or they named in neon lights that was so critically important to this process. We talk about Dr. King, but it was actually a young girl, Claudette, 15, that didn't give up her seat first. She just wasn't bright skinned and connected to the NAACP. So when Rosa Parks got it, that jump started the Montgomery boycott, but Dr. King is the face of it. So there are many women along history. I bet if I go back and Google all these men that you guys put up, there was a woman somewhere working in the midst of it to support and help them.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah. You know, and we just limit. I'm fighting to stay within this block with this political thing, and you all are on because your commentary is invaluable. Jesse, as that speech would go on, he would say, "You don't know the me that makes me me." Tying into what you say, Senator Osgood, he said, "I have a story," and he goes on to talk about how poor he was raised. I remember that night at the convention, there were farmers that were there crying as he was speaking. They were so inspired. And he had a thing. He didn't stay in hotels in his political stops. He stayed in people's houses, kind of like black preachers used to do when they came for a revival. And he stayed in those farms. And I worked with one of the Secret Service agents that said, man, the hardest person we've ever had to guard was Jesse Jackson, because you just couldn't keep him from the people. And I remember Senator Osgood, you were like this as a preacher. I was at our state convention, and must have was 80, 82, and he was contemplating running 83. And I was asked by the then president to guard him. And I said, yeah, I can do that. He hadn't picked up Secret Service protection. I guarded him, put my life on the line, stayed away from my wife to do that. And when my time to guard him ended, Jesse is sitting in the front window in a soul food restaurant there in Escambia, Pensacola. And the Klan had threatened that if he even landed, they were going to shoot him. And that was his commitment to the people. And so you mentioned Barack Obama. He opened the doors. Those 84 and 84 campaigns kind of opened the door. Could we see what Barack had to say on the night that you were talking about, Senator Osgood, when he was wiping his eyes?
If there is anyone out there who still doubts that America is a place where all things are possible, who still wonders if the dream of our founders is alive in our time, who still questions the power of our democracy, tonight is your answer.
And listen, Senator Osgood, you brought a point, Daryl. I'm gonna get us off the hot seat with this. We're going to go right now. And I know you're going to be leaving, but let's go right to this. This is, and I want to make the point. Let's see this video, and then we'll move on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. It is good to be back.
So, Senator, I know you got to leave. I want to make this point. This sister represented. She represented a point of. She represented the point of view of many Americans. Don't let anybody fool you all, Dozie land. She was not swept up in a mandate. She lost by just a few votes here and a few votes there. And if we had done our part, that would not have happened. We're paying the consequences now. But America proved this point that we're not ready. And I want to get you ladies' opinion that we're just not ready, because she and Hillary Clinton were two of the most qualified persons to be president of anybody. They were more qualified than Barack, because he had just ascended to the U.S. Senate. Let me hear from the ladies, and then Daryl, we'll ask you to chime in about her candidacy.
I'm going to say this, and this is from my personal experience running for judge here in Broward County. When I ran on a platform of transparency. I ran on a platform of being completely honest about my past. And for your viewers, I was incarcerated over 20 years ago. I was charged with a felony in solitary confinement while pregnant with my child. So I made that clear to the public. I don't think the problem is not being qualified, because when I ran against my opponent. But when you put our resumes together, I was also endorsed by the Sun Sentinel. What I realized was it's not that society is not ready for a qualified female in position of power. It's the fact that we are not motivated, we are distracted, and we are not voting. Because as you stated, I lost by 317 votes. And the 317 votes, we both had over 115,000. And when I looked at that number of how small it was in comparison to how many votes I received with that platform, I realized when you broke down the sectors of who voted versus who didn't, it falls not only on our people, but it falls on the fact that people are just not motivated to vote. In the primary election back in 2022, only 24% of the population who was registered voted. So what our ancestors fought, bled, died, sacrificed for, they're just no longer motivated. So it has nothing to do with Hillary's resume. It had nothing to do with Kamala's resume. We know that they were qualified based on their education, based on their experience. The fault goes back on to the people who did not vote, and also to the people who did vote. Did you ask others or encourage others or educate others? It can't just be about us. And this was a learning experience for me. So in order to fix that problem, we have to take accountability and not say, okay, America's not ready. America's been ready. Just like my colleague said, Senator Osgood said, behind every powerful Black man, because we know that this is a white male dominated space of power, but besides every powerful Black man, there's always been a powerful, educated, beautiful, smart, resilient Black female that is always qualified. So we have to take full responsibility, and it is time for a female to be in the White House.
Senator Osgood, do you think misogynism or racism or anything played a part in white women not coming to the polls and supporting her?
Well, I love her dearly. She's my sorority sister. I've met her personally, and just knowing campaigning and the layout and having experience, she was asked to do an incredible job in 100 days, and she did an incredible job. There were some things that should have happened sooner that would have positioned her to be more competitive, that she didn't have to come out the gate and play catch up, but she did it very well. I think that we do have to be realistic. There is a disdain for Black women in leadership. White communities, even Black communities, want Black women to be successful, but not so successful. There are certain roles, like being the president of the United States, in certain church circles, being the pastor of the church. It's like some roles people are still not comfortable with women in. And I don't think it's just the men. I think it's some of the women too. I'm not going to speak on Hillary Clinton because I might have a different opinion than y'all. But I watched Kamala go through being drugged, called incompetent, called all kind of names. There's a lot of hits you take in the political sphere for just trying to lead your people to make things better for them. And sometimes the hits come from them. And then when you enter into a political space, you have a lot of people that are already elected. And sometimes you're able to engage them. Sometimes they don't know you. You don't know them. You haven't built the relationship. So they don't feel comfortable putting their neck on the line and helping you. I think there were a multiplicity of things. You look at money, the finances, in our community, we give people $25 checks when they running for office. Where on the other side, they're giving $1,000 checks. What would happen if we start making some sacrificial giving to campaigns and empower our candidates that's running to really be able to compete with travel and all the other different things that you have to go through for it. And as I'm getting off, I just need 1 minute of grace. I can't let this conversation go down without mentioning one of the most phenomenal local Black history persons that oftentimes get overlooked because it's kind of the way we feel about the school board. Dr. Kathleen Wright was the first Black to win a school board race countywide in Broward County, and the first Black in the state of Florida to win a school board race. And that is key, because when you're running a countywide race, it means you got to get everybody to vote for you. She's the person that the Kaysia Wright building, the administrative building, is named after downtown in Broward for the school board. And I had the honor of being the school board member that worked with the Links, the Deltas, the AKAs, the Alphas, the Qs, many community groups to memorialize her by putting a statue in front of that building. So as we move forward with our school board, if they ever decide to move the administrative office, we better make sure that history is not erased, that they move that monument of Dr. Kathleen Wright with them. She won a county-wide race as a Black person running for a school board seat. It was unheard of. Unfortunately, she lost her life in an airplane crash coming home from a Delta convention where she suffered third-degree burns and eventually died. But as you celebrate Black History Month, let's remember a local hero in the person of Dr. Kathleen Wright.
Thank you, Senator Osgood. We cannot celebrate Black excellence and not remember our local heroes like Dr. Wright. Madam Producer, you and I had an experience in front of her husband upon first relocating down here. We'll talk about that off camera. I'll remind you who her husband was. I want to just ask you, we're over for break, but I want to ask you, Bro Daryl, and I failed to mention, forgive me, bro. Bro Daryl is a retired federal prosecutor. Federal prosecutor.
No, that's not.
I know. I ride a golf cart with him on Fridays. I know. He's a retired federal public defender. He's a defense attorney now. When they can drag him out of retirement and drag him off the golf course and other areas of leisure and enjoyment. And I mean, but let me just ask you to referring back to Kamala Harris. Did you know if our men, that was the narrative of the media? Senator Osgood and I was on a forum where we heard some community organizers say that in some of their sessions, Black men came out and said they were not ready to support any woman for presidency. What did you hear about that from as far as Black men were concerned?
All right, let me just back up a little bit because I'm a bit of a historian. I just like historical facts. And I just did a quick search. The first African American mayor in the United States was a woman named Lelia Foley. And she was elected the mayor in Taft, Oklahoma in 1973.
Oh, wow.
And right after her, there was a woman elected as an African American woman elected as the mayor of Compton shortly after her. But this woman, Lelia Foley, was elected in 1973 in Taft, Oklahoma. Now, to your inquiry, Reverend, 80% of Black men voted for Kamala Harris, and I think 92% of Black women voted for Kamala Harris. And it should have been 92% of Black men, but 80% is still a large number. It's still a large percentage. No other ethnic group came close, or no other ethnic group votes other than Black women that vote who vote strongly for a candidate. With respect, I did hear some comment from Black men that said, well, they weren't going to vote for Kamala Harris because they just couldn't vote for a woman. And I'm certain they're sorry about that now. And a lot of a lot of some of the comments I heard where I just believe people just kind of couldn't see the I don't know if it's couldn't see the forest for the trees. I think in this case, they they were looking at little things and just missing the total big picture. Like this thing I heard someone said that she wants to do she's for the transgender people getting surgery in prisons, and it may be like less than 10 of those surgeries, and there are people getting worked up about that. And I just thought they were just finding little things to nitpick at her, because in the bottom line was that it was misogyny. And with respect to the entire country, a lot of I hear a lot of people, well, it wasn't race, she laughed too much and this and that. But I mean, if you look at those two people, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, I'm sorry for mispronouncing her name, and just look at these two people, and you can honestly say that one of these people was basically a better quality person than the other one. I have to just say that racism and misogyny just played a larger role than people are willing to admit. I mean, this woman has been Attorney General of a major state. She's a United States Senator. She served as Vice President. And this guy's a convicted felon who tried to steal an election. Yeah, I mean, anyway.
Yeah, hold up. Hold that. As we transition after the break, which we're over for, I want to talk about law. I want to talk about what you just said. Let's go to the break, and we'll be right back. GoGigaWorld.com. Go Giga World. Some of the most important words you'll ever hear when it comes to virtual production. They got you. The tutorials and the kids and that team will make your production professional. Listen, they make this guy look good. Imagine what they can do for you. GoGigaWorld.com. They got all of your virtual needs, web building. GoGigaWorld.com. You saw some of the stars at the end whom they produce. Let yours be the next star that they make. GoGigaWorld.com. Beyond the world of virtual, they got you. Listen, I want to mention tonight that February the 27th through March the 1st over in Orlando, Black history has been taken out of the schools, but community organizations and churches, it's incumbent upon us, families. This is a Black history training. It is a toolbox. We attended it last year. It is a toolbox. It's not a curriculum. You can snatch a curriculum from some of the items that they'll make you privy to, but it's a toolbox that teach you. That's why we on the dialogue have been sure to not go way back into Benjamin Banneker, and I heard Senator Osgood say way back into even the 40s and the 50s. But we're looking at, we're shouting all of these modern day contemporary people. Well, they have a toolbox at this training that will help you to come back and to be a blessing. You see it on the screen right now, faithinflorida.org. Go and register now for this toolbox training. It was excellent last year. It'll only be better this year because you'll be there. Black History Toolbox Training, faithinflorida.org, Orlando, Florida, February 27th. That's a Thursday, and it concludes on that Saturday morning, March the 1st. We hope to see you over there. Okay, Now is the time when I normally do a Dane Dog. I just want to say this, and I have two counselors with me. Before we talk about continued Black excellence in the field of law, I want to ask them: are we gearing up for a constitutional crisis? The judge has ordered Elon Musk to stop some of the things that they're doing, the infringements they're doing on congressional powers, and they have demonstrated. Well, the president was cited today because he is defying some of the stays that judges have ordered with some of the ludicrous policies and things that he's trying to take down. And of course, J.D. Vance said that all he has to do is let the courts say what they want to say, and then leave it upon the courts. Let it be incumbent upon the courts to enforce it. Are we looking at a constitutional crisis? Is that their strategy?
Even if it's their strategy, I'll just say this real brief for our viewers, because I don't want to assume that everyone understands the branches of government or the checks and balances and the powers that the president has and does not have. I'll say this: the president of the United States may attempt to have dictatorship ways, but this country is built upon checks and balances, the three separate powers. So although he may attempt to defy what the Constitution mandates, there are still laws in place that will regulate what he's attempting to do. And this goes back again to who we vote into power, not just the president. Oftentimes we see during elections that the voters tend to decline when it's off from the presidential election, when they don't understand the power, the impact of our local elections, as well as all the other positions in Congress, our local leaders, just like we just had our state senator Osgood on. When we have people in the proper position of authority, we can continue to check those who try to exert their power and bypass what the Constitution says. And speaking of the Constitution, because we got a lot of questions also, Reverend, about the fact that he is a convicted felon. Our sitting president is a known convicted felon, but he was not punished. But that goes back to the Constitution, because considering the fact that he is the sitting president, he got an unconditional discharge. In other words, he is a convicted felon, but no further punishment. And when you look at that, you have to ask yourself, they may say in one breath that the president does not have more power than a regular citizen, but we know that any person, any natural citizen convicted of one felony, you're not going to get a slap on the wrist. So there definitely, I suppose, there's going to be more amendments to the Constitution, much needed, to stop this dictatorship power from creeping into the United States.
But Daryl, do you actually see the Republicans who are currently in the majority in both houses of Congress now? Do you see them stepping up and stopping some of this with a non-elected immigrant, Elon Musk, running things and just trampling over people's jobs and securities and our national? No,
I think they're cowards. I think they're absolutely cowards.
What
you can just see who they. Kash Patel, and I just use Kash Patel as an example. I know Kash Patel. I worked with Kash Patel. Kash Patel worked in the Southern District of Florida as an assistant federal public defender. I never heard he was a bad lawyer, but no one ever called him an outstanding lawyer. He talked about how he's talked about how he had 60 trials. I probably had 120. But there's no way I think that I was qualified to be head of the FBI. And no one with his resume in prior years would have even been considered as head of the FBI. And yet I believe that Republicans are going to just put him right in there. And he's just completely unqualified, in my opinion. I mean, it just...
I guess I'm really even know that he even has a law background. I didn't even know he had a law background at all. I thought it was private.
Yes, I know him. coincidentally. He actually worked as an assistant federal public defender in this district. And like I said, no one, I never heard anybody say he was a bad lawyer, but I certainly never heard anybody say he was an outstanding lawyer. I mean, he was, he was cast for jail. But hey, that's what's going on. But I want to, you asked me about the Republicans. I mean, they're on record as saying like, well, the country elected Trump to do exactly what he's doing. I mean, you just watch. I watch all the news. I'll admit, I mostly watch MSNBC. I probably watch about at least 2 hours of MSNBC a day. But I try to watch about 20 or 30 minutes of Fox News, and I try to watch about an hour or maybe 40 minutes of CNN. But if you listen, and when they do these snippets of these Republican lawmakers, they're all saying, "Oh no, we don't have any problem with what Elon Musk is doing." And I've given up on the Republicans standing up to what Elon Musk and Trump are trying to do with respect to all of these executive orders. And I'm hoping that the courts, the courts are ruling against him and are, granting injunctions and things like that. But I do fear a constitutional crisis coming because I think Trump is going to just say, well, we don't care what the judges rule. We're going to continue because we think the judge is wrong. I don't have any qualms with predicting that Trump at some point will just flat out disobey one of these federal district court judges.
That's what J.D. Vance advised, and that's what I unfortunately think we're in for a roller coaster. Listen, I refuse to take this month of celebration of our people to focus and concentrate in on the shenanigans and the clowns that are behind there. In March, I'm gonna have a lot to say, but I'll say this: America, shame on you because you caused this. You knew what was going to happen, and you're getting what you asked for. Listen, there's some more. We want to, by contrast, we certainly want to look at some of our other great litigators. Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall, who rose to the ranks as a Supreme Court justice after being a civil rights lawyer. He was appointed to the bench by President Johnson. And I have two litigators in with me now. And we're about out of time. Guys, let me just ask you, how did we go from the likes of an advocate of human and civil rights to a whatever Clarence Thomas is, Festus or James? How does that happen?
First, I would like to say, as a graduate from Howard University, Thurgood Marshall from one of the greatest schools in the whole entire country, I will say for our viewers, if you don't read anything else, make sure you read the Brown v. Board of Education opinion. It showed his foresight as a sitting justice and seeing what his role as a justice can shape the entire country for the future. How did we get here? Because rather than looking at the qualifications, rather than looking at the contribution of the potential justice, it goes back to favoritism. I'm not going to say that this doesn't occur. And this is coming from, once again, a double minority in a white male-dominated profession who, when I am assertive, when I have zealous advocacy and representation for my client, I am viewed as angry. I am viewed as unprofessional. And sometimes I am presumed incompetent until proven competent simply because of the color of my skin or because I'm a female. And when we have these ideologies or these preconceived notions, and you pick people based on your attraction to them versus their qualification, this is how we have a country that is not solid. So I will say, if your viewers don't do anything else, start to educate ourselves, start to read opinions. You don't have to be a practicing attorney to know the deep and rich history of, first and foremost, Thurgood Marshall and other leaders that you mentioned in this program today.
Well, let's go to another Supreme Court justice that I think we'll all be grateful for. and proud of current Justice Ketanji Brown. Let's see her. That's Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yes. She has, during her brief stint on the court, she has stood up for human and civil rights. And even with the craziness that has already occurred, Daryl, she did not vote to give this guy immunity and make him a king before he even got back in office. I think we will appreciate President Biden long after his time is up, because of the awesomeness he did, and he did everything he said he would do, and he appointed her to the courts, and his cabinet was indeed a rainbow cabinet compared to what we're seeing right now. But Justice Brown Jackson is just proven to be the kind of person that I think you're speaking of, Attorney Earley, and her qualifications and what she's doing right now.
And here's another homework assignment, because I would implore everyone to read her dissent opinion to the affirmative action when they struck down affirmative action. Like, she really, like the young ones would say, stood on business. And when you read, sometimes I always say, if you have to stand on righteousness, sometimes you have to stand alone. And a dissent is disagreeing with all the other justices who agreed to tear down or do away with affirmative action. And, with affirmative action, we had the DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that built upon affirmative action. And then it also built upon the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that they're trying to dismantle and take away. And while we are being entertained and distracted, they're slowly but surely pulling away everything that was built up. And what's going to happen is, when we finally wake up and realize that there's no more protection, because we already know that this country is built on racism, because if it wasn't, then we would not have to have these programs in place. We would not have to tell Congress to make sure you include and diversify your corporation. So we already know that this country is moving in a different direction. So we have to stop being entertained and educate ourselves in order for us to move forward and be in positions of power.
If you all can, I've gotten permission. We may not have to run, but that time. But we have another 10 or so minutes to wrap this up. I'd like that one of you all brought up the fact that Black History Month is not always about Dr. J and Fred Williamson. And I know I'm going back into another era, but Denzel and LeBron, and we have purposely during this month of emphasis to emphasize potential careers, positions of influence, with the prayerful hope that our young people and the next generation will see people like the three of you all, and the one we had on last week, the sister who ran for sheriff in Jacksonville, and say, hey, I can do that. Your testimony is so compelling, Attorney Earley, that you rose from the ranks of you could have been just thrown away, and you rose from those ranks. And every time I see you have helped someone in the court system, it just touches my heart, because I say that could have been that possibility could have never existed.
And let me just say this real brief. I have to say this because in the past 11 years of practicing law, I represented over 1,000 people, hundreds of dismissals, not guilty verdicts, or it was dismissed on the day of trial. And that is because I lawyer from the heart. I make sure that everyone that I represent, I think about my past incarceration. But here's the most important call to action that I want to tell your viewers. It is absolutely imperative when you are called for jury duty service, make sure you serve. And when you come, what I'm noticing is a pattern of these prosecutors. The way they single out the Black folks, they ask that main question. By a show of hands, how many of you all think that law enforcement officers are unfair or treated you unfairly? And they engage in this dialogue, and they know that if they pull out certain information out of you that you will be stricken for cause. So what happens is, once you're stricken off my panel, I'm left not with a jury of my client's peers, but I'm left with a lack of diversity simply because, based on your experience from past law enforcement or whatever the question is, you say you can't be fair and impartial. So it's imperative that when you come, first and foremost, come to serve. And second, when you come, put aside your biases of what occurred with you and another law enforcement officer, and let the court know that you can be fair, you can be impartial, you can put aside your biases, because we need Black people to serve on the jury. I don't want to hear about you all marching and being reactive when something happens. We have to serve your civic duty in court and don't make excuses. So that is my call to action to each and every one of you, to answer the call and serve your civic duty so we can have a fair chance for the defendants to have a fair and impartial jury of their peers.
I sure hope we heed that. I sure hope we heed that. Let's see, Attorney Willie Gary. Daryl, do you know him personally?
I've met him. I don't know him very well, but I've met him on occasion, yes.
Okay. They had an awesome, he's locally right here in St. Lucie County, just up the road. I don't know how active. I heard that he was experiencing some issues, physical issues, but he has certainly in the field of civil law. He's real big on the national landscape. He and Johnny Cochran, just prior, one of the last cases that Johnny Cochran worked, they sued Disney World. And I don't want to leave the point that Attorney Earley just made. I want to go back to that, but let's hear this clip, and then this is the last clip, and then we'll close it out here. But I just want to let's see this clip, and then we'll go ahead and engage you all.
I'm sure you have them very much in mind. To summarize some of the things that we talked about and put it in perspective, we talked about a police department who from the very beginning was more interested in themselves and their image, and that carried through. We talked about socks that appeared all of a sudden that weren't there, socks where evidence was planted on them.
I hope you all heard what Attorney Earley just heard, those of you all in Dozell, and pass this along. We cannot, I emphasize, we cannot. A lot of people look at it as a hassle, it disturbs our schedule. Listen, we cannot pass an opportunity to serve on jury duty. I wanted to play Johnny Cochran there. He's one of the more known flamboyant, and he had an axe to grind with the Los Angeles Police Department, and he grinded it real well, culminating there in the OJ case. I just finished looking at that documentary, and you all may want to see it if you haven't. There on Netflix. It is absolutely awesome. And of course, our family, we were at the scene. Madam Producer, she's pretty assertive. She actually walked up the steps and went right on the murder scene. The police left for a brief second from God, and she took all these pictures we had right after this. It happened in June. We were there in August. But anyway, one of the things that documentary showcased was the fact that the criminal case was fought there in Los Angeles County, and Marsha Clark gambled that she could get because she had gotten objective Black juries in that jury pool that comprised that area. And then in the civil suit course, he lost up at, was it Simi Valley or somewhere up there? Mm-hmm. And he lost because it was almost an all-white jury. And of course, the burden of proof or whatever it's called was much less. But
preponderance of the evidence.
Ma'am?
The preponderance of the evidence in civil and beyond a reasonable doubt in criminal.
I'm going to learn some of those terms at one point. We just want to emphasize, if you're called, please take this as your civic duty. Please, you just heard the impassioned plea of an attorney who represents a lot of people who look like you and I. Please go. And we're not asking you to go with a bias or cheat or anything. We're asking you to go so that the people that look like us don't go to court just knowing that they're going to spend their time, sometimes innocently, in jail.
Yes.
I've got two great litigators here tonight. And as we wrap it up, do you all have any closing statements, so to speak, that you'd like to say to our people tonight? We really want to encourage us to look at these fields and be encouraged to participate in them.
I'll just say briefly, first and foremost, I want to thank you for, again, utilizing this platform, not as entertainment, but to educate. We have enough entertainment, and I want to thank you for taking this time out to highlight those historical figures, past, present, and future. And this is, once again, a plea to all of our listeners, our watchers. Make sure you educate yourselves. Make sure you educate your family members so that we won't continue to complain, but we will soon be in positions of power and have that seat at the table and make laws and changes for our future generations. So thank you, and to be continued, because I will not stop fighting, and I will run for something real soon.
Bless you. Bless you.
Staying with the historical theme, I would ask everyone to look up this fellow that actually mentored Thurgood Marshall. His name is Charles Hamilton Houston. He was the person that really he was the architect of that led up to Brown versus Board of Education. Mm-hmm. And there's a very good book that kind of chronicles that whole thing. It's called Simple Justice by Richard Kluger. Gives you the whole background on the cases and everything that led to that historic decision. The book is called Simple Justice by Richard Kluger.
I want to thank this. I don't just consider them as my guests. I consider my brother and my sister.
Same.
Senator Osgood had to leave, and you heard her schedule. This crazy governor's called a special session. He wants to outdo the legislature, so he wants to outpraise them. So he is going to. He called a special session. She thought she'd be home. She's got to get out here early in the morning. So I'll travel in prayers with her. But I asked Attorney Earley and my brother Daryl, Attorney Wilcox, kind of at the 11th hour, and they just started a program like this. Vital not to be here, and just hats off and thank you all for making this what it was. We just really appreciate you.
Absolutely, and thanks for having us.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Judge Earley.
To God be the glory.
Amen. Amen. Listen, as I see it. So last week we had an aspiring police sheriff of Duval County who rose to the ranks of chief in Duval County, Jacksonville Police Department, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Tonight we've had three great quality individuals who have risen to the high ranks in their respective fields. Tonight we looked at law and we looked at politics. You can make a difference in politics. You can make a difference. If Barack had never gone out there, he would have never been president. I'm sure Brother Daryl and I share, and I picked him because we're the oldest. We never thought in our lifetime that we would see a president if someone would look like us. If Barack had thought that, he never would have. We hope that seeds of greatness are being planted in you right here with this series that we're doing during Black History Month. And you heard the exact testimony of Attorney Earley. It didn't start out great for her, but her resilience, her faith, that's what she just spoke of, is what has driven her. She's had over 1,000 clients that she has helped to find justice in the system. We need you to be the next Kaysia Earley. We need you to be the next Daryl Wilcox. We need you to be the next Rosalind Osgood. We need you to be the next Kim Varner, the next Toya Glenn, the next Dozell Varner, and make a difference. Be the next hero. Be the next hero. We're looking for you next Monday night. Dialogue with Dozie. Thanks for joining us. We love you. God bless. We're out.